This photograph shows Whakatāne, a beautiful coastal town in New Zealand's Bay of Plenty. It looks incredibly peaceful, but right beneath the surface lies a deeply buried industrial secret. This is a text message sent by a local whistleblower on a Tuesday morning. It details heavy diggers breaking ground at a busy retail precinct called The Hub, tearing into what locals know as the old Whakatāne sawmill site. The person who sent that text is Kōrero Akuhata. He is the chair of Sawmill Workers Against Poisons, a group representing the exact families whose bodies absorbed toxic chemicals working on that very piece of land decades ago. What Kōrero saw that morning was the construction of an 8-pump, 24/7 discount petrol station. Developers were actively sinking massive underground fuel tanks into earth that is heavily soaked in pentachlorophenol, or PCP, a highly toxic wood preservative. A government-commissioned environmental report explicitly warned against this kind of excavation. It found that trench workers digging foundations or pipes on this site could face dioxin exposure up to 70 times the tolerable daily intake. Approving a high-risk project while excluding the group most intimately familiar with the site's contamination eliminates the most critical form of oversight. To understand why that soil is so toxic, we look to the sawmill's green chain, the conveyor system where freshly cut timber was processed. For decades, Māori mortares were used as human filters. They stood on the line, manually drenching timber in open vats of PCP, absorbing the chemical mist and dust through their skin and lungs. The physical toll was devastating. Workers developed aggressive cancers, heart disease, and diabetes, dying at an average age of just 61. Under Tikanga Māori, the traditional system of values and practices, harm is understood generationally. The poison traveled home on the workers' clothes, leading to birth defects and chronic illnesses that echo through up to 7 generations of a single family. The state responded with deliberate medical erasure. The Accident Compensation Corporation, New Zealand's public injury insurance scheme, historically narrowed recognized health effects from dioxin exposure to minor skin conditions, ignoring the terminal illnesses entirely. The compensation system was designed to protect the Crown from financial liability. It parked terminally ill workers in a bureaucratic waiting room until they died, ensuring their full claims were never formally recognized. This map illustrates the massive geographic scale of the industrial poisoning across the region. There are 33 separate known chemical dump sites where toxic waste was buried or discharged across the landscape. The most severely contaminated of these is the Kopeopeo Canal. Once a natural artery of the land, the state used it as an open industrial drain for the mill's toxic runoff. Taxpayers are currently funding a $22 million remediation project to pull 40,000 cubic meters of dioxin-laced sediment out of that water. That is a volume equal to roughly 16 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Government reports frequently frame this as legacy contamination. That phrase acts as a rhetorical sleight of hand, making an active, highly dangerous environmental hazard sound like a closed chapter of history. But the hazard is fully active today. When the new petrol station was consented on the old sawmill site, the Māori voices sitting inside the district council chambers remained entirely silent on the risks to workers and the community. This political silence allows contaminated soil to be treated as a commercial blank slate, cleared for immediate retail expansion. The immediate physical threat at the new site is severe. Sinking massive underground petrol tanks into an already devastated soil profile creates a massive risk. If a leak occurs, the fuel creeps down, migrating directly into sensitive, connected groundwater systems. Western risk management relies on engineered containment, keeping communities away from the danger. Tikanga Māori demands a different approach, the strict principle that the people whose bodies carry the poison must be the ones leading the remediation. Whakatāne is far from an isolated case. Ministry estimates reveal there are roughly 1,500 high-risk contaminated sites spread across the entire country, presenting a massive national liability. That liability is exactly what the new fast-track approvals bill is designed to manage. The proposed legislation strips away environmental protections and public consultation requirements, prioritizing economic efficiency over safety. The logic of the fast-track process permanently locks Māori, the indigenous people of the land, out of the decision-making room. The quiet approval of the Whakatāne petrol station is a dry run for how national policy will operate. The industrial disregard that defined the sawmill decades ago is now physically cemented into place by this new fuel infrastructure. We have to reject the institutional disinformation that calls this progress. By supporting the local truth-tellers who are putting their bodies on the line, we can build the collective action necessary to jam the gears of state-sanctioned erasure.